Hi Year 3, hope you're doing well, missing you all lots. Today I'm going to carry on reading from the magic Faraway tree, where they've just got to the faraway tree. He swung himself up into the tree and the others followed. After a bit, Rick gave a shout. Wow, it's extraordinary! This tree is growing nuts now, look! Sure enough, it was. Rick picked some and cracked them. They were hazelnuts, ripe and sweet. Everyone had some and enjoyed them. Now when they had all got very high up indeed, Rick was most surprised to see a little window in the trunk of the faraway tree. Goodness, does somebody live just here? He called to the others. Look, there's a window here. I'm going to peep in. You'd better not, shouted Joe. The angry pixie lives there, and he hates people peeping in. But Rick felt so curious that he just had to peep in. The angry pixie was at home. He was filling his kettle with water when he looked up and saw Rick's surprised face at his window. Nothing made the pixie more angry than to see people looking at him. He rushed to the window at once and flung it open. Peeping again, he shouted. It's too bad. All day and night people come peeping. Take that. He emptied the kettle of cold water all over poor Rick. Then he slammed his window and drew the curtains across. Joe, Beth and Franny couldn't help laughing. I told you not to peep in at the angry pixie, said Joe, whipping Rick with his hanky. He's nearly always in a bad temper. Oh, and by the way, Rick, I must warn you about something else. There's an old woman who lives high up in the tree who is always washing. She empties the water down the tree and it comes sloshing down. You'll have to look out for that or you'll get wet. Rick looked up the tree as if he expected the water to come tumbling down at once. Come on, said Beth. We'll come to where the owl lives soon. He's a friend of Silky's and sometimes brings us notes from her. The owl was fast asleep. He usually only woke up at night time. Rick peered in at his window and saw the big owl asleep on a bed. He couldn't help laughing. I am enjoying all this, he said to Franny. It's quite an adventure. The children climbed higher and came to a broad branch. There's a sweet little yellow door with a knocker and a bell, cried Rick in surprise, staring at the door set neatly in the trunk of the tree. Who lives there? Our friend Silky, said Joe. Ring the bell and she'll open the door. And there's a picture of Owl sleeping. Rick rang the little bell and heard it go ting-a-ling inside. Footsteps pattered up to the door. It opened and a pretty little fairy looked up. Her hair hung round her face like golden mist. Hello, Silky, cried Joe. We've come to see you and we've brought our cousin, Rick, who has come to live with us. He's having a lovely time exploring the faraway tree. How do you do, Rick, said Silky, holding out her small hand. Rick shook hands shyly. He thought Silky was the loveliest creature he had ever seen. I'll come with you if you're going to visit Moonface, said Silky. I want to borrow some honey from him. I'll take some popcakes with me and we'll have them in Moonface's house. Whatever are popcakes? Asked Rick in surprise. Wait and see, said Joe with a grin. They all went up the tree again. Soon they heard a funny noise. That's old Mr. What's-his-name snoring, said Joe. Look, there he is. Sure enough, there he was sitting in a comfortable chair, his hands folded over his big tummy and his mouth wide open. How I'd love to pop something into his open mouth, said Rick at once. Yes, that's what everybody else feels, said Joe. Moonface and Silky once popped some acorns in. Didn't you, Silky? And What's-his-name was very angry. He threw Moonface up through the hole in the cloud and put him into the strange land there. Where's the old saucepan man? Asked Beth. He's usually with his friend Mr. What's-his-name. I expect he's gone to see Moonface, said Silky. Come on, we'll soon be there. As they went up the tree, Silky suddenly stopped. Listen, she said. They all listened. They heard a curious noise. Slishy, sloshy, slishy, sloshy, coming nearer and nearer. It's Dame Washalot's dirty water coming, yelled Joe. Get under a branch, everyone. Rick wasn't as quick as the others. They all hid under big boughs, but poor old Rick wasn't quite under his when the water came pouring down the tree. It tumbled onto his head and went down his neck. Rick was very angry. The others were sorry, but they thought it was very funny too.